Greetings, listeners and viewers. I'm Dr. Kristen Stahauer, Academic Vice President and Provost at Northwood University. Welcome to our Faculty Spotlight, a podcast that has given listeners an insider's view into the brilliant minds and expertise of Northwood University's distinguished faculty members. Over the course of this series, we explore a wide range of topics from business and economics to entrepreneurship and innovation. Each episode features in-depth conversations with professors who share insights, research, and experiences to educate, inspire, and engage our listeners. Today's episode features a very special guest who has a unique relationship to our faculty, President Kent MacDonald. Welcome, Kent.
Good morning. It's great to be here. I mean, looking outside, beautiful downtown Midland, and it's a beautiful day here, and looking forward to this conversation, Kristen.
Well, I have too, and at your heart and at your core, you're an educator, Kent.
Yeah.
It's so appropriate for you to be on our faculty podcast.
Yeah. So, it's funny. You and I have traveled. We've been so blessed to travel different places, and over many stops at different countries. You go into the country and you'd have to fill out your name and where you live and often occupation. And for over 35 years, when I write what I do, I just say educator. And so it's deep in my blood. It goes way back when I was a lifeguard. And early on, I wanted to teach other lifeguards. So I started to get this interest in not only teaching, but seeing what the outcomes come from when you have that opportunity. And I was a hockey coach, downhill ski racer coach, that kind of thing. So Mary Ellen and I started our careers as teachers.
First Lady of Northwood University.
Lady, yes. Yeah, that's
Dr.
right.
McPhee.
Dr. McPhee in New Zealand. And it's really, since those early days as teachers, we've remained committed. I had a small journey outside in the private sector, but that was interesting because having that experience, it actually brought me back to where I'm most comfortable and where I get the most joy. So I've been a teacher. I had one experience teaching grade 4, 5. I'm okay now. that may have been the hardest thing I ever did, but it was great.
It's a daunting responsibility.
Oh my gosh, and kindergarten teachers, I don't know how they do it. Just don't know. And then I slowly get into administration, and I was a full tenured faculty member at one point. But administration, I think, is where the sweet spot for me is. I still have the opportunity to go in and speak and teach in a less formal way, and then hopefully have some positive impact on the hardworking faculty that we do have, particularly here at Northwood. We have fantastic faculty.
Well, thank you. And I totally agree. And we're very blessed to have you as our leader at Northwood University. You're sought after expert on higher education leadership. And you've traveled the world, as you mentioned, to visit universities and to speak. You're sought after to speak all over the globe on higher education leadership. And for our faculty podcast, it's a wonderful opportunity for you to share your area of scholarly expertise.
Yeah.
What is your research question?
Well, the question I asked, I thought it was exciting at the time. I still do. It's trying to understand what makes great universities great. So it was a little bit more technical than that, and looked at high-performing colleges and what was the kind of the interaction of a leader in trying to achieve that. And there's lots of reasons behind it. If you look at the top-ranked universities, even though I'm not a fan of the rankings, I think their methodology is flawed. You and I have talked about that before. If you look in the early 1900s, the top 25 ranked universities, they are essentially exactly the same as they are today. So why is that? I think a lot of them have deeper pockets, rich endowments, the prestige that comes with age. And yet I think the exciting areas going on in higher education right now are at places like Northwood that are challenging what is the purpose of a university. Is there a purpose, for instruction, or is it something different? Maybe it's for learning. And if you actually extricate yourself from the notion that we exist for the purpose of instruction, sitting in seats, listening to someone profess their knowledge, and shift it into one of an outcome of learning, it actually liberates what it is that we do. And I think we see it in online. We see it in more what we do exceptionally well, experiential learning, the notion of collaborative learning and teaching. A lot of those things are of interest to me. But fundamentally, it's trying to understand why does one university perform better than others, and the interaction with the leader in that. And I think Northwood, I'm sure we'll get into this, but this is a place that's really has momentum right now, and I think the country and people in the United States and beyond are realizing, what we do here and why it's so important today more than ever before.
Well, and you used the momentum word, Ken.
Yeah, yeah.
What is behind that? Because at Northwood University, we have experienced growth in all of our segments that we're serving. So, traditionally, students who come to the campus, our graduate school, our online adult learners, corporate training and education, across the boards, international locations, we're seeing growth.
Yeah.
What's drawing learners to
Yeah,
Northwood
and
University?
there's no magic, potion that gets you there. There's many, many layers. I think the context that we're in right now, we emerged out of COVID, and as you know, Kristen, you and your team kept the doors open at Northwood throughout that, and we were able to thrive because of one of our fundamental values of personal responsibility. I'll just digress. I remember reading at one institution, some students were really upset during COVID because they were wondering why the custodians weren't cleaning their classrooms better before they came in. And as you know, at Northwood, we provided PPE, to their students, but our students practicing this notion of personal responsibility, they went in. They cleaned off their desk, and before they left, they said, "Hey, maybe I should give this white for the next person coming in." And so there's a bit of that element in terms of where we are in society today, um, and I think this move towards more government control, more socialistic practices, just like we did back in the late 50s when Northwood was started, and that's the antithesis of what we stand for at Northwood. And I believe people are seeing that and what we espouse as fundamental values at Northwood: free enterprise, limited government, rule of law, private property, my favorite, personal responsibility. You add all of those things together, and coming out of a pandemic, a government really driven, controlled pandemic, in terms of what we could do and not do. And I think that's a huge element. I would say the second big element is, when you speak to some faculties on some universities, they will say, we exist not for employment, not for work. We're here to develop creative thinkers and problem solvers. And I say, yes, we are, and more. Because when you actually speak to students and you speak to parents and you ask them, what do you expect out of this? I mean, often it's your second or third largest investment ever outside of buying a house. They're unequivocal. They expect a better life. They expect employment. They expect the abilities and skills to start a company like our alumni at over one third of our graduates have done over the years. So you have this notion of, let's get back to some basics of personal responsibility and personal freedoms. Let's go to a university that actually prepares you for a great life. And it's not just about making money, although we're not afraid to say that making money is a good thing, because doing that, you can decide how you can help your communities, raise a family, all of those things. So those are two big elements. And the third one, I think, is we have a beautiful campus, a peaceful place. And our students come here, they live together, they learn together, they eat together, they get to know one another, and they're not a number. You cannot hide at Northwood. If you will, look, I honor any student who wants to sit in a class of 300, 400, 800 students. That's the experience they want. As you know, as our academic leader, that's just not what we do at Northwood. So there's a lot of different things. And at the foundational piece, our marketing communications team have been slowly dialing up the message of who we are. And I think it's resonating. When you talk about an institution or America's Free Enterprise University, liberty and business for all, that is not a normal tagline for a university, and we're proud of that. So we don't need to be the biggest. We're not the richest. We're not the oldest, but we're a distinct institution that I'm proud to serve our faculty, staff, and students. And I think our relevance is as great as it ever has been.
There are so many directions we could go
Yeah.
with that, Kent. And one of them is we've asked our guests on the podcast, what does the Northwood idea mean to them? Now, you've touched on so many elements, but
Yeah.
in a nutshell, to you, what is the Northwood idea?
For me, I continue to fall. When I say, what it is, and I'll repeat that in a moment, I always end up at the end, personal responsibility. That we have as human beings, we achieve our greatest joy in life when we have a purpose to get up in the morning, that we feel that we can look after our own futures. We don't need someone dictating, what we have to think and do all day. The idea that you can actually set your own path in your life. As you know, on the weekend, we had 150 potential students on our campus. And I look at them and I ask, does anybody here want to maybe own their own company, a merchandising company, a technology company, a gardening company, a flower company, a high tech, whatever your dream might be? And then I say, why not? Why not you? What is preventing you from doing that? And I think deep down that gets into personal responsibility and giving people the confidence that they can do whatever they want. They have a hope. They have a heart, they have a dream, and Northwood can make all of those things come true. Now, underneath that, we have the other things, like our commitment to freedom, our commitment to free enterprise, our commitment to this notion of limited government. And nowhere in limited government does it say we don't need government. Of course we do.
Right. We
Right?
believe
We
in the rule
need
of
structure.
law.
We need rule of law. We need people, as I look at, outside on this beautiful day, people who are taking care of our communities. But we don't need it in every aspect, maybe to the degree that we have right now. Do we really need 50,000 laws telling us how we need to live our life? And so that's what Northwood stands for. That's what the Northwood idea is. And I think it's as timely a notion as it was when Dr. Orville Watts, kind of framed it back in the early 60s.
So you mentioned that there are benefits to students who are able to couple that personal responsibility, the individual freedom, with the education we provide to great results. Because education is an investment these days.
Yeah.
And you mentioned it's one of the biggest investments we ever make in our lifetime.
Yeah.
Could you speak to how that pays off for Northwood graduates? Because this is an area where Northwood stands apart from so many others.
Yeah. So it's not lost on me that our current administration, and look, God love anybody who wants to serve in government today. I respect them so much. It's not a job that I would ever want to do. But I disagree with the notion that taxpayers, and it falls back to the principle of personal responsibility, that taxpayers now need to bail out individuals who have chosen certain academic programs to the tune of billions and billions of dollars. And I just disagree with that. And partly Northwood's success rate of retention rates, as you know, Kristen, when students come to Northwood, they generally stay with us and graduate because of the immersive, engaging environment. They do extremely well after they graduate. What's the evidence of that? Well, the evidence would be Georgetown University every year has produced data that shows how have people performed? What is their return on investment been after they give an institution thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars. Where are they in 20 years, 30 years, and 40 years? Or in other words, we'll make this investment, but what is the return on that investment? Georgetown University says this little campus in Midland, Michigan is in the top 11% ROI across the country. Of nearly 5,000 colleges and universities, the message that I give to parents and others is you will make an investment because going to university, it has a public good. A more educated citizenry is a good thing, but it has a private good. And the private good is you're going to live a better life and earn more. And so um, to score in the top 11% is a remarkable number. And there's two other universities in Michigan ahead of us, just two. But they have law schools, medical schools, dental schools, engineering schools. So I put Northwood right at the top of the pack, and we're proud of that. And I think that is why, as you said, we have seen not only an increase in undergraduate, but adult learners are coming online. Graduate students are coming online at a higher rate. International students are coming to us. And maybe there's some out there, but I don't know another university whose first year enrollment increased 30% this year. Ours did because the experience, the quality of our programs, the relevance of our faculty. Look, they're theorists, they're highly educated. Um, but we don't necessarily spend a lot of time talking about the correlation of paint color and buyer behavior. We get our faculty sharing what they did when they were industry, and you mix that together with their, doctoral research credentials, and amazing things happen. And when you're sitting in a class with 15 or 20 students, really rolling up your sleeves and tackling some of the fundamental business and economic challenges today, magic happens. And that's what happens at Northwood.
I totally agree. And at Northwood University, you are at the helm, and we have a very dynamic strategic plan. What are the elements of the strategic plan that most enthuse you and that you believe are helping Northwood even further consolidate its leadership in higher education?
Yeah, so if we're running a hospital, you would hope that it focuses on health. If you're running a law firm, it will focus on legal issues, that you're going to have the best doctor if you need medical assistance, the best lawyer if you need legal assistance. Our strategic plan is driven by our academic mission. And what are the experiences that we want to provide our students? Hands-on experiential learning.
Inside and outside the classroom.
Inside and outside, right? This could be a classroom. It's an artificial space. There's seats. Someone's doing their teaching, and you need that. So the academic mission of Northwood focused on the Northwood idea and the economics. We're pretty committed to Austrian-style economics, and that's one element. The other one, though, is leadership for me. I speak about it a lot, but the older I get and the more I try to do in life, the more complex it seems to be for me. And I think what Northwood has done remarkably well is really focused on something that we've called a bias for growth. In everything that we do, we're going to have this bias towards growing Northwood across all elements. And so when you speak with our custodians, they know that they're contributing to growth by having a clean look for graffiti. You can't find graffiti at Northwood. Look at our washrooms. They may play a really critical role. If you speak to our custodian who happen to be sitting down in our cafeteria, that we provide good, healthy meals because we think that's what students today want.
And customized to different palates and tastes.
Yeah.
Customization for our international students.
Exactly right. So everybody must contribute to this bias for growth. Our extension around the world, I just got back from Rouen, just north of Paris. There is a beautiful historic city, of course, but so we're partners there. They want to implement the Northwood idea in France, the same as what we're doing in other parts of the world. Another element I would say is one of the levers that we have, and I won't take the audience into every aspect of our plan, but we call it our people. And how do we attract exceptional people that are prepared to go, full out to support our students. And you know that we see that. We have open houses, everybody shows up. Graduation, everybody shows up, because it's a special place. So we have examined how do we continue to attract great people. What do we need to do to further educate them, support them? We have incentives in terms of tuition discounts for our employees, and the list goes on. So if I were to highlight three things, there would be this focus on academics and our unique brand of academics. Number two, and just unabashed and manic focus on growth and what that means, smart growth. And then finally, just relying on some of the most dedicated colleagues that I've ever worked with. We had our auto show this weekend. And so we're walking around as you did with thousands of people on this campus, our 60th anniversary. And two people pulled me aside. One of them had not been on campus since 1978, and he lives in another university town. And he said, "Kent, why are people so happy here? Why are they so polite to us?" And they don't know who I am. I haven't been here in 45 years. And those are unbelievable characteristics and values and climate and culture for a university to have, that people actually like to be on campus with one another. So remarkable people, and we put it in a wonderful strategic plan, and I think we're bearing the fruit of that now.
So much of what you've touched on really conveys a sense of community, community of learning that is on our campus. It's in our online classrooms. It's across the globe at our international locations. Ken, we are so blessed to have you. I said that earlier, but we really are blessed to have you, your leadership expertise, and applying that at Northwood to help reach more people with the power of the Northwood idea and what they can do to transform their lives with it. You mentioned the auto show. So one final question, that when we have close partnerships and are expanding in that area with that industry's assistance. But what's your dream car?
Well, my dream car, we had these incredible cars on our campus. I didn't even know these cars existed. Pagani's and Bugattis and McLaren. Yeah. But I'm a throwback. I'm a throwback person. And my dream is for Mary Ellen and I, when we're finished, and we think that we've contributed what we're expected to here at Northwood, it would be to own a 1967, 68 Westphalia Volkswagen van. And I imagine just driving with an old T-shirt and shorts until it breaks down.
I can see that.
And then I'd be hopeless. That would be my dream. And I'll say I have one other dream when you mentioned the auto show and you mentioned community. And when I think of community, I don't think of necessarily the place, but rather the psychology of community that's so exceptional. And you might have listeners that are thinking, how do I ensure the next generation a free market, free enterprise, mature graduates, so that we can continue and perpetuate everything that's made this country so great. And I would call on them to give us a ring. We're going to make some amazing announcements over the next 12 months with donors. And we have a call to action to reach out to people and say there's this remarkable place in Midland, Michigan. It's called Northwood University. And it espouses everything that's great about this country, what's made this country great. So if you have listeners who want to get on board with that, we'd love to chat with them. And I've really enjoyed this conversation.
It's been great. And we hope your dream of the Westphalia eventually comes true, but not too soon, because we are benefiting from your leadership. And through your leadership, so many people are making their own dreams come true through the Northwood education. And so we thank you for your time today. We thank you for your leadership, and we thank our listeners for joining us in our podcast, The Focus on Faculty. And today we were able to hear from Dr. Kent MacDonald, president of Northwood University, and he shared his focus as the president of a momentum-filled university, dynamically growing and touching more lives through the Northwood idea and the philosophy and the powerful education Northwood University provides. Thank you, Kent.
Great to be here, Kristen.
And thank you, listeners. Please join us again for our next episode, and please follow us on social media and subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks again for joining us.